Good evening, Warriors, and welcome into another edition of the R&R Sports Report. I'm your host, Randy Isbell. With me, as always, Mr. Robert Hagan. Robert, what is happening, sir?
I gotta start the show. I apologize. I have to say it. I apologize.
To me, to me,
Well,
I know.
not you,
Oh,
not
okay,
you, because you're
okay,
wearing an
okay.
ugly hat today. But Deanna Caruso, I am sorry that I ever doubted you. She brought the snow. She said it was gonna
Yeah,
snow on
she
Sunday. She
did.
brought the snow, and now it's snowing even worse. It snowed up in Pullman terribly. Denise just sent me a picture of how bad her drive is home. So it's just nuts. I guess I can't doubt Miss Caruso ever again.
It's one of the few times you really get excited that you live in a hole, so it turns into rain by the time it gets this low. We had a little bit of snow scares, I guess, over the weekend. Calling the baseball games over at Church Field, and all of a sudden you just see a little bit of snow falling, and you're like, "What is happening?" I'm trying to call a high school baseball game, and it's trying to snow on us. It didn't last very long, but and luckily at Church Field, you have the indoor facility there, so I was nice and toasty. I
Yeah,
didn't have to deal with the wind and the cold. And in between games, when I walked out for a little bit, I went right back into that booth and hung out because I was not hanging out in that cold weather. That's for sure.
well, you even texted me, "Where'd you go?" Because I showed up. I got there about
Yeah,
the second inning. I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna hang up here by the press box," and it just started getting colder and the wind blowing, and it was skiffing snow as I come in, and so I disappeared and ended up in my car behind center field, right center
I
field,
was
and stay.
all tempted to ask you to do the second game with me because I I'm still not fully back into doing the pace of high school baseball. I remember it being faster than it is now. I remember having all these notes back when we did Clarkson baseball, and then they were pitching so fast I couldn't keep up with it. And now, unless your name's Killian Fox for the Lewis and Bengals, everyone takes their damn time, and it's just like I messaged Lee McBay halfway through the second game, saying, "Thank God LC's going on." And Major League Baseball is back. So I have like other scores to update people on while I'm waiting for somebody to throw a pitch.
Hmm. Yeah, it's crazy, and to see even with the crowd that came down from Post Falls, we'll
Hmm.
talk about it later. They had a good amount of crowd there. Uh, I really wanted to drive over to Airport Park to find out how their crowd was.
Hmm.
But Lewis not a decent crowd. But how about the little containers that these guys were sitting in over on the third?
Right.
I should containers, but the little
Containers
tent,
work.
yeah, little tent things these guys are working in. Could we did calling this game, I have to ask you this, did it remind you of when you and I did the game, our very first game on the road a few years ago, and we traveled up to Cheney and it was 32 degrees at first
Oh
pitch?
God, I remember that. It was again, and at least up there, we also had the little shed thing that we
Mhm.
were hiding in, so it was not terrible. But yeah, it was just
But we
stepping
had to open the
outside. It
window
was
though. We had to open the window just to see out.
yeah. The second game, I opened the window so we could get some crowd noise. It was we were all trying to huddle in, and Lee went, "It sounds weird," so we opened the window so you guys could hear a bit of the crowd noise and some atmosphere. But even then, it wasn't too bad. So honestly, I didn't even notice it till you walk back outside, and it gets a bit brutal. On today's show, listen, we're doing it a day early. Things are completely relaxed and lost because neither of us have really had time to do any notes. So it's just a show. Like we have some notes, none of it is in order of what we're going to do. A lot of it is even from last week, so it'll be
Mhm.
fun to trickle through what is actual stuff that has happened this week. And then the second hour is basically just going to be us doing an NFL mock draft because in what is it, 17 days time,
17
18 days
days.
time, somewhere in there, the NFL draft starts. We are going to have live coverage both on here and on W2M. We are going to team with the unoriginal name of the what is it, the Broadhurst and Watkins Sports Report.
Right.
We're going to join with those two guys, and the four of us are going to give you live round one reactions. We are going to be a bit more professional than we were last year, where we just were four guys just spitting wind for 4 hours and not keeping up with stuff. We have a little bit of production value we're going to test out and try different things on. I know Robert has been helping with getting some stats put together as well. Once I get back from Vegas, it's going to be full bore on getting that stuff ready. But we're gonna get into that mode, and we're going to just, it's not going to go back and forth. It's not going to like be our first mock draft where we each came up with our own top 10 and kind of talked about it. It's just going to be Robert and I, and maybe a special guest if he does end up being free. He was still unsure the last time I talked to him, and busy schedules are busy. I just chatting about different teams and where we think that we they should go, where they will go, and we'll be completely wrong when the draft happens. But I think that'll be a more fun way to do it than what we usually do.
That sounds good to me. Lots of stuff people starting to try out traveling. We'll talk about Thibodeau. All I heard was Thibodeau all day from NFL Network about him and making his few visits this week.
Mm-hmm.
And he's supposed to go see your Jets, I believe, on Thursday, right?
Yeah, if he hasn't already, it's like Jets have seen several people. It's just kind of what everyone does if you're in the top 10, 15. This draft is really weird. We'll get into it more in the second hour, but the fact that there are 8 teams that don't even have a single first round pick just makes it so confusing. There's so many teams with multiple picks, so then you really don't know where they're going to go. I think there's going to be a lot of, because of that, with the 8 teams without a first round pick and all these teams with multiple first round picks. We always overhype draft day moves.
Mm-hmm.
This year, I really feel like we're going to get a lot of movement on draft day.
Yeah, I think you are 100% right. I don't see a lot of these guys sitting back and not doing anything. They've got to unload some players to get a draft pick, and I think there's going to be a ton of movement. So,
All right, let's switch gears. Let's go baseball. That's what I've watched the most of this weekend. That's what I've been the most hyped over this weekend. Major League Baseball started on Thursday. The first game was supposed to be the Yankees and Red Sox, and just to show you how the season's going to go, of course, that game got rained out. The 2 games that get rained out on opening day were the Yankees and the Mariners, so it shows you where things go. But just, we've had 4 days now of baseball, 4.5 days where we're going through right now, though, looking at the scores, neither of our team's offenses has shown up on a Monday. So that is what it is. But just overall thoughts on the first few days. What have you really taken away so far?
the big thing, some of the big things is a lot of people already jumping on LA. You hear the Dodger fans, oh, they're not producing already. It's 3 games in, guys.
Jeez.
That's it. 3 games in. I heard a guy this morning talking about how bad they're and what they're going to have to do to try to fix this. Dude, there's 159 games left to go, 150, 58 games to go. So anything can happen. Yes, a couple of bats are a little slow. So be it. It's going to happen. So you just got to be patient. I mean, you look at both of our teams, your team trailed and then got back into it every game, got back into it. My team did the same thing, the first 2 games. And then they forgot to even show up on Sunday. Good thing I watched the Masters most of this weekend.
I think the Mariners are watching the Masters as well instead of playing their baseball. Yeah, I said going into this, I've been that fan sometimes where you overreact over the first couple days or first week or 2. It's the Yankee, at least as a Yankee fan, this year is so up in the air because they didn't make those huge moves, but they made some very small, interesting moves that I think could change the landscape, and I just want to see how it works. Honestly, from what I saw over their first 3 games, I haven't been able to watch any of this game where they're losing now 3-0 to Toronto. They got a hit so far, but Toronto is just a ridiculous team. But what I saw with the Yankees was great. It's just more situational hitting. Obviously, a lot of the situational hitting came from Rizzo and Stanton the first 2 days where they both hit a home run against Boston. Could not get that key hit yesterday. But to me, it was the bullpen for the Yankees that
Mhm.
was absolutely outstanding. They gave up the one home run yesterday, but that was from Clark, who is a pseudo starter slash, okay, we need 3 or 4 innings from a reliever and not the 1 inning shutdown guys that the Yankees have a ton of. And that's the reason why the Yankees won 2 of the 3 games was it was the relieving core. But just looking around, there's been some great hitting performances, some interesting pitching lines as most pitchers are not going very long. It's rare right now that a pitcher's going 6 innings, which is not surprising. It was a shortened spring training. Everyone is still trying to get those legs going, and that's why Major League Baseball has added a few roster spots so you could go pitchers. I think the Yankees have 16 pitchers on their roster right
Mhm.
now. But the thing that I took away from this opening weekend, and the thing I was most interested about, and the Yankees use it and Boston did not, is the pitch track stuff that is in the ears or the hats for the pitchers, and there's a couple of the fielders, and the catchers have the little buttons that they relay the calls to. I love it. And it seems like a lot of players that have used it are absolutely loving it. Just hearing the back and forth there, I think once it gets going a little bit farther on and get some of the bugs figured out, I think it's going to speed up the pace of play. And the only time in the Yankee game where things slowed down while the Yankees were pitching was because Boston was trying to slow them down because the Yankee pitcher was ready to go every time.
Yeah, 100%. It'll be interesting. And I did catch the end of that game last night. Like you're talking, uh, watching basically the bottom of the ninth in that one. And you had Judge, you had Stanton, and Gallo come up, and not to see those guys, not to see Boston have any of that stuff. So I'm not sure how
Mm-hmm.
many of the teams do have it, how many don't
It's
have it, but it'll be
50 ish,
interesting.
50 ish.
I think over the next few weeks we might see a lot more of those come out. So you're right though. A lot of the pitchers not getting a ton of starts. That could be just because of the late spring training
Mm-hmm.
and some of these guys not getting into it. But I tell you what, and not to take away from what your team did, they came back in their first 2 games, but you look at Dykeman and what he did in the
Diekman was
ninth.
gross.
That was nuts. 3 strikeouts, and what he did, what was 11 pitch at bat to Judge, or Stanton was the 11 pitch at bat.
I
Anyway,
can't
one of
remember
them
now.
was but to see him pitch and finish, that was crazy. So for me, you look at the Mariners and what they did coming back in the last 2 games. I think it's time to move away from Gonzalez. I think they're relying on him way too much. But you got to shut down Byron Buxton. Buxton. Buxton.
MVP. I told you
Buxton
he's a
is.
sneaky MVP candidate.
Let me tell you, he's already got 3 home runs already just in the series against the Mariners, and so we're 3 days in, 4 days in now, and this guy is just tearing up uh, Mariner pitching. So you're right. Write him down.
Mm-hmm.
We'll look at him in about 3 months and see where he's at.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, it's pretty fun that most teams have only played 3 games. There's a few that have played 4 now that those games are getting wrapped up here today. Only undefeated team left is Tampa Bay. Is that one team that we said don't sleep on this team? Again, it's only 3 days. I mean, it could be the Miami Marlins that are 3-0. It wouldn't surprise me. It just depends on who you face, and of course, the Rays played the Orioles their first series, but they are getting crushed right now to the Athletics 9-1 in the bottom of the eighth. So here in a couple minutes, no teams will be undefeated. Not surprising in baseball. This is what happens when you play a bunch of series against different teams. It's tough to sweep a series of a team, which is why I've said multiple times where everyone goes about the LC Warriors. Oh, they don't play competition. To win as many games in a row as LC did, it doesn't matter what the competition is. To sweep those teams
Yeah.
every time is so impressive, and it shows in Major League Baseball all the time.
And you look at the Athletics, there isn't really a huge big names in there on that roster, and we were picking on them. The whole point of they didn't make very many moves at all.
Mm-mm.
But LCSC Warrior Seth Brown tonight,
Yep.
3 RBIs. He's on a 1 for 3 night already, 3 big RBIs. So it's just we say it for football any given Sunday, but I didn't think the Athletics would come out and be
No,
double barreling it today.
that's just again, it happens. That's for sure. Looking at the scoreboard today, so far your finals, the Guardians, not the Cleveland team. Now 2-2. They scored 10 runs against Kansas City. That looks like it was a pretty good game. The Quan, you'll talk about him here in a minute, and his opening week continues to just be red hot. The Orioles get their first win after again being swept by the Rays. They shut out the Brewers 2-0. Brewers not off to the hottest starts just of yet. Rockies now 3-1 on the year. They win in 10 innings against the Rangers 6-4. Tigers beat the Red Sox 3-1. Those are your finals so far. Right now, A's beating the Rays 9-1 in the bottom of the eighth. Top of the eighth inning, Mets are blanking the Phillies 4-0. Blue Jays blanking the Yankees 3-0. That is in the bottom of the seventh inning. Bottom of the fifth inning, your Mariners getting blanked by the Twins 1-0. Let's see. Nationals beating the Braves 5-1 in the bottom of the fifth. And still to come, you have Marlins, Angels, Padres, Giants, and then the Pirates and Cardinals game got postponed and moved to June 14th. So a lot of games already getting postponed, and I guess that's spring for you.
Yeah, welcome to the weather. I mean, we've
Yeah.
had it here. We've seen it snow in Cleveland, so anything's possible. So
Mm-hmm.
something's got to slow down that team, as they've, who would have figured, come out 2-2, but it's still early. But my player of the week's got to come from that team, the rookie Stephen Kwan, 9 of 13. He's batting over almost 700, 3 RBIs, 6 runs, 5 walks. But to get on base in his first 4 games, get on base 15 times, that's just crazy numbers. And not to take it away from anybody else, because there were some other players that had some huge weeks this week. As I said, Buxton had a great few days, and even your player of the week too. Anything's possible, but hats off to this rookie making a huge splash week 1.
Now, it should be noted that Quan's numbers do count today's game as well. Just again showing how just red hot he is. But my player of the week, Nolan Arenado, or I guess player of the half week that we've had so far.
Week.
But 6 of 12, which obviously batting 500 is ridiculous. But the fact that 5 of those 6 hits were extra base hits, 3 doubles, 2 home runs, a 1.788 OPS, just all right, unsustainable at all. 4 runs, 7 RBI for a Cardinals team who, again, could be in the running for a wild card. We both had them in the mix for sure. Arenado is going to be a very, very big part of that. And I know what you're typing, and I'm going to cuss you out.
Well,
Yes.
let's. Do you
Let's
want
do
to
it.
do
Bring
that
it
one?
on.
Do you want
Bring
to
it
do
on.
that one first, or do we
Bring it
want
on
to
there,
do
Judge
the other?
News, because try to rub it in. It's fine.
No, I just, they offered him what, close to 36 million a year,
It was so
and
much money.
he turned it down. He turned it down. What I mean, he was talking in the interview. You hear it on the game last night. They talked about it. He says he feels like he's in a good place. He talked about wanting to be his entire career in New York. Does that mean now that since he turned down roughly 36 million a year, that he's done with being in New York?
It's interesting. It wasn't 36. It was 7-year, 213 million. So a little over 30. It's worrying. Anytime that you have a player as talented as Judge, that they've already said they will not be discussing contract during the year. So the fact that he will be a free agent when they are working out a contract, or they're going to have that short period of time after the season before he officially becomes a free agent, that's scary.
Mm-hmm.
But I do respect the player for betting on himself. He feels that number would be much higher if he did not get injured those couple times over the last couple years, and his numbers would have been even higher. So he's betting on himself that he can stay healthy and produce and ask for even greater. I am worried that it's not about the dollar amount, it's about the years, and I don't want the Yankees to go past 7 years. I'm a huge Aaron Judge fan, and I want him to be a Yankee for the rest of his career, but I have been a loud detractor of these 10-year contracts that come out. No player in the history of ever should be given 10 years ever. And I don't want Judge to get it. And if that's what he demands, then he may not be a Yankee next year, and that would suck.
And for those that don't know, Aaron Judge, 29 years old. So
Mm-hmm.
even at 7 years, that puts him at 36. So
Mm-hmm.
I, and
And he's a
I
big
agree
man.
with you.
I absolutely love Aaron Judge. He's a very monster of a man, super athletic, but he is what, 6'8"? He can break down really easily, and then if you're stuck on a contract for 8 more years, it can be rough.
Well, you even look at how many games he got in over the last few years, 2020, but we can't talk a lot about 2020 just because of the scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
But even look at 2019, he played, missed 60 games in that one, missed 50 games in 2018 with injuries. It can happen. And so, I think he is probably a easy top five player in the league. Heck yeah. Would I want him on my team? Heck yeah. But I'm kind of like you. Do you give somebody that many years to actually see it happens? So
Mm-hmm.
it'll be interesting to see where that goes on that one. Some other news that just came out early this afternoon. Did you see that the Washington Nationals are going to be up on the block? The Lerner family.
I got $20 to add to it if you want to get in on it.
uh, the Lerner family is going to put them up on the market, and so it'd be interesting to see where they go with that. I know there's a firm that is been hired to find a new ownership. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. As most of you know, the Washington Nationals was the Montreal Expos many years ago,
Mm-hmm.
but 16 years, the team goes from a $450 million team to a just over $2 billion team. Does anybody buy the team for $2 billion?
I think with any of these sports teams anywhere, you almost have to get multiple people to come up with it. But everyone's been saying Jeff Bezos to the Washington football team. Why not be the Washington baseball team and get them too?
Makes a good
I
point.
had to say Washington football team because I forgot what the hell the Washington team, the Commanders.
The
There you go.
Commanders.
I was not saying the other team. I'm just like I'm not going. I can be Guardians, or I'll say Cleveland baseball team if I forget Guardians for a minute. But I'm not going to go back. I just was blanking on on Commanders because I had Guardians in my head so much. Maybe there is an issue with changing names. My old brain
There's got to
can't
be
quite
something.
click.
Got to be
I don't know.
something.
Who knows? It's such a mess. Let's stick with baseball, and let's go to the high school scene. As we were mentioning at the beginning of the show, I was up at Church Field calling the Bengals games against Post Falls. So both very very good teams. Little hit or miss that first game. Lewiston dominates 8-0. But I just think that game got away from the Trojans a little bit in the middle innings. And Killian Fox, so phenomenal on the mound. Pitches so fast. 9 strikeouts. He gave up, I think, 2 hits, a leadoff single in the 6th and the 7th innings, and he walked the batter in like the 3rd. Other than that, was near perfection. And then I'm blanking on the kid's name for Post Falls, and I apologize to him. Was as dominant in game 2 against Lewiston, and they really didn't have much of an answer for that until later on in the game, and they kept getting into it, and the air bug kind of took over for the Bengals, and it was rough to see. They cut them. It was 3-0 Post Falls. Lewiston got back within 2, and then I don't want to bash high school kids, but a routine ground ball to second base got by the right fielder. You cannot have that at any level. That
Yeah.
gives up 2 runs. They do get 1 back and fall a bit short.
Yeah, and talking about that, and I believe who you were talking about pitcher wise was Rutherford, was it not? Tyson Rutherford.
No, I believe that was the pitcher in the first game.
Okay.
I'll see if I can find it. But
Yeah.
you gonna talk.
So for me, yeah, watching that post fall game is there in the front part of that. I think there was some mental errors by the catcher there for post falls. Jared Taylor, couple of defensive plays had to block the plate a bunch. A few of the balls was down in the dirt a bunch. He tried to make a couple of plays, ended up into the netting and the wall right there at Church Field. But I think for me was the mental error of he had one ball that was somewhat down. He made an ill-advised throw out to second, gets past, and another 2-run score for Lewiston there. I want to say that
Mhm.
was in the 5th inning, and so uh, but they're kids, and
Yep.
so a little bit of a mental block on that one. Would have never made that throw. Does it change the scenario of it being an 8-0 win? I don't think so. I think it was still it's still a was going to be a big win anyway. I think that was in the 4th when that happened, and went from a 2-0 game to a 5-0 game, just like really quick. So,
Mhm.
um,
And the starting pitcher for Post Falls, I definitely wanted to make sure I got him shout out. CD Sharples or
Sharples.
Sharpley. I can never remember Sharples is the name. Yeah, absolutely fantastic in that second game. I would have loved to see them go head to head,
Hmm.
and maybe if they face off in the Inland Empire League tournament, we could get that matchup. But he pitched phenomenally as well.
Yeah, hats off to that. And even seeing there in the first game, it just seemed to look like the Lewiston Bats had things going, uh, just finding the open spot and putting the ball in play. Totally different first, 4 innings of the second game where
Mhm.
Lewiston just couldn't get anything going.
Softball side for Lewiston, they also were playing Post Falls, as you had mentioned, up at Airport Park in a doubleheader. Lewiston wins both of those games 10-2 and 10-0 as I watched the Blue Jays get out of a jam with a double play. That makes me sad. Yankees had first and second with nobody out. They get no runs. That's sad. But Lewiston now 8-3 on the year, 5-1 in conference. Taryn Barney, absolutely fantastic. Go vote for her on the Lewiston Tribune's Prep Athlete of the Week. 7 for 8 in the 2 games, 3 doubles, 3 runs, 4 RBIs. Absolutely dominating. Um, they're getting the bats going, and that's what you want to see for the softball team.
Yeah, 100% is hearing nothing but positive things coming from up at the softball field. So I trying to figure out, and we'll talk about this week coming up with high school games. I'd like to try to bounce around and look at there. We've got Lewiston happening,
Mhm.
the softball again, Clarkson's in action, Asotan's in action, and the Asotan girls are looking good. So I'd love to get up there to Airport Park and check out one of those games
Mhm.
that's coming up. So they've got a lot of things happening for that ball club, especially taking on Lake City and Coeur d'Alene this week. As far as the Clarkson boys, they were supposed to be in action on Thursday. No game happened there for that this week. And so the Bantams will be back in action tomorrow at Adams Field. They will host just a single game against West Valley. Uh, 4 o'clock first pitch on that one. And then they will host in Rogers on Saturday for a doubleheader. So if you're not doing anything Saturday, go down and check those guys out. Far as the girls for Clarkston, uh, tough loss for them. Colfax and Colfax is just that good. They're a great team. They lose a tough one there, 7-2, and then on Saturday they headed over to Ellensburg, and boy, how do I say this nicely? And they're young. The Clarkson girls are very young. They lose both games to Ellensburg. Ellensburg, a lot bigger school, but they end up losing their first game 12-1. and then end up losing game 2 23-3. They'll be back in action on Tuesday. Also, tomorrow they'll be on the road. They will be up at West Valley, and then they'll be back home at Lincoln Middle School on Saturday, hosting a doubleheader against Rogers.
You were talking about all these games going on, and Lewiston doesn't play until Saturday, both the baseball and softball. But one thing I noticed, obviously, I'm taking off for Vegas shortly after the show, so I was curious what I was leaving the crew down at the Tribune as far as schedules go. Tuesday is insane if
Yeah.
the weather allows. There were like 10 baseball games, and that's 10 different sites. I mean, there's double headers in there as well. There was like 6 or 7 softball games. There were 5 or 6 tennis meetings throughout the area. There was a couple track meets that were going on Tuesday. I was like, bye.
Yeah.
Tuesday, if weather allows it, Tuesday is that perfect time. Go support something
Yeah, it was
locally,
good.
sports wise.
It'll be interesting tomorrow. Is I was talking with our athletic director up at the middle school, and Marty says I don't know if the track meet's going to happen because they've already SAC has already canceled for tomorrow. They were supposed to come over. It was supposed to be SAC, Moscow, and us Lincoln tomorrow at the high school. So that will be interesting to see, even if that happens with the weather. Right now, I saw a 70% chance of rain during the time that things are supposed to happen. So who knows if we even get that one. And then, like you said, another track meet. Clarkson hosts their first track meet on Wednesday. So it'll be an interesting next couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
You look at a Soton boys. They have a doubleheader tomorrow. No games this past week. Same with the. They'll play a doubleheader against Colfax. I can think about who they do tomorrow, and then they host in Liberty on Saturday, also at a Soton, and then a Soton girls, another dominant win against Orofino this past week. Now 11-0 on the season, so they also are away at Colfax tomorrow. Kind of crazy. They must have lights up there because both games are scheduled at 4 and 6 o'clock. So it'd be interesting there. And then they host in on Saturday against Liberty in Asotin, also a 12 o'clock first pitch there. So
very nice. And not to let tennis get away, Lewiston beats Clarkston. The boys sweep 7-0, and the girls win that one 5-2. Congratulations to the Bengals. They have the boys squad especially has been very, very, very good. One of the people that works at the Tribune is it's Pullman's one of Pullman's tennis coaches, and he's been raving about getting to play Lewiston soon and how good that matchup should be. Let's now move over to the college side, and LC had a 4-game set as they were trying to recoup from the split with Corbin, and they do just that. They have a 3-game sweep of Eastern Oregon, and then of course snow of all things cancels the game on Sunday or postpones it. They win the first game 7-0. Trent Sellers, dude, Mr. Sugar himself, friend of the show, dominating another performance in that one. I think he had like 10 strikeouts, just straight domination. Then an 18-3 win and a 13-4 win. The bats completely got going. Justin Mazzone, also fantastic. Mazzone and Sellers were Cascade Conference Players of the Week this week. So they're now 38-3 on the year. And now they're going to get the big 4-game set at home against College of Idaho, that team that could be battling them for that number 1 seed in the Cascade tournament, and will help determine if the tournament is here or not. Tennis team, they went back to Indiana because they're not traveling enough. They made up that game, the men did, against Huntington. They lost that one 1-4, but a big win against number 22 in the country, Grace College. They win that 4-3, and then they defeat Spring Arbor 5-1. They will play Idaho State on Thursday and Montana on Friday, as the women had 3 games over in the Indiana area, are now 7-7 on the season as they win all three. They defeat Judson 4-2, Grace College 5-0, and Spring Arbor 4-1. And golf has gotten through their first day of their Corbin Spring Invite. Women struggling a little bit. They're currently in a tie for fourth place. They're about 38 strokes behind British Columbia. I think it was because you rattled Caruso with not believing her about the weather. It's messed with her psyche. I know you already apologized, but man, you messed her up.
I hope she's not watching tonight because she will probably just rip into me. But yeah, I think they just needed a little motivation. Maybe that's what I'm giving them a little bit.
It can't be the best conditions to play in. And
No, I
the
can't.
men in their second round combined for a 1 under par as a team. They currently lead British Columbia by 17 strokes. Competition will resume and conclude tomorrow over there. How'd track go?
Well, track is doing track things as always. The NNU invite happened this last week. Lots of stuff going on with the girls' side. Jenna Carpenter ended up finishing second in the heptathlon, and she qualifies for nationals with that performance. Also, you look at Madigan Kelly. When haven't we said her name? She gets another first place in the 100-meter hurdles with a 14.33, another personal best. That is now currently fifth ranked in the NAIA. So she also qualifies there for herself. Annika Grogan wins the 200-meter dash with another school record, 24.88. Ashley Britt won the 400-meter hurdles, time just over 1 minute 4 seconds. Cynthia Smith finished third in the pole vault. Brooklyn Shell finished fourth in the 1500. And then Sydney Swiana finished second in the triple jump, along with Madison Howe placing third in the 5,000 meter with a time of just over 20 minutes. So crazy to see what the women's side's doing. For the men's side, okay, might as well just start with it. Cole Olson. Cole Olson, another big turnout here in that invite. He also qualifies in the 5,000 with a time of right at 14 minutes, 14:48. He leads the Warriors in the event. Chase Borrow also finished runner-up in the event at a time of just over 15 minutes. And then in third and fourth place, also Bryson Kempton and Brady Nelson. Clayton Van Dyke won. Go figure. Clayton Van Dyke won the 1500 with a time of 3 minutes and 55. And freshman Griffin Parcells finished seventh in the event with just over 4 minutes. Ike Hopper, the one name we have not said very often here lately, he claimed the 400-meter hurdles. So with a personal record of 45.67 seconds. And so just crazy. The Warriors had 4 athletes in the top 10 of the 800. Van Dyke took another victory home. So shout out to these guys and what they are doing. It's just nuts. The Warrior Track and Field will be back in action here shortly as things get ready to wrap up for the CCE tournament.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's something I have still not put into my head that this semester is almost done.
Yeah.
Like we have big projects and stuff coming up, but there's like getting notifications. Hey, such and such project is due in 2 weeks, and that is your last thing you're doing. We're at that point. What is happening right now?
It's the same.
It's
the same in school. We're down to already right at 2.5 weeks until we start state testing, and so then it's like 3 weeks of state testing, and then basically all the kids are all right. We're done. And they shut down. So it's down to basically 6 weeks, and we're out of school.
It's just I don't know where time flies at all. I just don't get it. We've been talking about NFL draft. WNBA draft happened today. I like the quick format of the WNBA draft. I mean, there's only 12 teams, but they get their 3 runs. Just rounds, excuse me, just in. Weird thing with the WNBA draft, Indiana Fever had 4 picks in the top 10. So they're just a new team, I think,
Yeah.
in Indiana. But the Atlanta Dream had the first pick. They took Ryan Howard, a guard out of Kentucky. Indiana Fever took Nalisa Smith from Baylor. Baylor's just absolutely fantastic all year. Washington Mystics took Shakira Austin, a forward center from Ole Miss. The Indiana Fever again took Emily Engstler, a forward from Louisville. And then rounding out the top 5, the New York Liberty took Naira. I apologize if you somehow listen to this. Sabali from Oregon, also a forward. So a very forward stacked top 5 in the WNBA draft.
And Naira will get to play with her sister Saul. And I was listening to part of that pre on the radio as I was doing some stuff and got there. But yeah, she gets to play with her sister there, so that's awesome to see that happen. So
on the NBA side of, not surprising, Drew Timme declares for the NBA draft. Where do you think he goes?
I don't know. I think he could be. I really think maybe a top 10 pick. I would be surprised if he falls out of the top 10, but I think he'd be a good fit, and I hate saying it, but a good fit down in Golden State. I think he would be a great fit to go down and play with Clay and Steph and just make that team even better.
When is the draft lottery? I always forget. It's like in the middle of the playoffs, I think.
Yeah, something like I believe something like that.
Because that's when things get weird. I mean, the NBA lottery, I love it, but they do it in such a weird time. Let's see, draft
June 23rd.
So that long?
Yeah. So June 23rd. Yeah,
that's when the draft is.
Draft lottery.
I think. Draft lottery is Tuesday, May 17th.
There he goes. So we got a couple weeks of that.
It's like, wow, that is so far, but there you go. Your projected order and odds for that as the regular season is done. The Rockets, Magic, and Pistons all have 14% chance to get the number 1 pick. I believe, I forget if they've changed it. It's just the top 3 picks that they switch, right?
I think
and then everyone else gets ranked. I don't know if it got changed with this whole deal. But Rockets, Magic, Pistons at 14%, Thunder at 12.5%, Pacers at 10.5%, Blazers at 9%, and then so on and so forth. Lakers had given up their pick, so there's no chance for them. And speaking of the Lakers and speaking of the NBA, we'll get into our sports-related draft when hopefully our helper for our mock will be able to be on and we can have him guest judge for it. If not, we will just roll with what we got. But it's based off the NBA playoffs technically starting tomorrow with these stupid play-in games. But the regular season did end yesterday. And we did not do it with baseball this year because we tried to change it up and we just wanted to worry about divisions and stuff. This year for basketball, we changed it up and we didn't draft every team. We only drafted the first 5 teams. So ideally, we were going to pick 5 playoff teams. We did not. I took the Lakers, who did not make the playoffs. Robert, do you remember who you took?
I do not. I remember I took Brooklyn. I think it was Brooklyn, was it not?
Brooklyn is in a play-in game, so you survived there. But you did take the Portland Trail Blazers, who missed the playoffs. So I'm glad you haven't scrolled down because I've updated the standings, and I have our regular season winner. And we stopped updating these things really early on in the year because neither of us really care, especially about the NBA. And last year, you crushed me in both baseball, basketball, and hockey and everything. And I still owe you lunches when we need to figure that out still. But only picked the 5 teams. You, sir, went 239 and 171 with your Nets, Warriors, Suns, 76ers, and Trailblazers. Trailblazers really hurt you at 27 and 55. The Suns, insane, went 64 and 18. So that kind of evened things out a little bit. I Went 238 and
Oh,
172. You beat me by one game. One game. And that is with the Lakers, or the Lakers even won their last two games. Portland lost their last 11, which helped me get back into it. I had the Bucks, Jazz, Mavs, and Heat. They've all made the playoffs. It was all great. Took the Lakers. That did not go well. Things that we completely bombed on, which again, we're not big NBA fans, so we just threw things out there. The
thank
Miami
you,
Heat,
Suns.
right? The Miami Heat, number 1 seed. Thank you very much. Boston Celtics, the number 2 seed. Neither of us picked. I had the Bucks at 3. You had the 76ers at 4. So we had 3 of the top 4 in the NBA that we took. Neither of us took the Raptors or the Bulls, which were the other 2 automatic seeds in the East. On the Western side, again, you nailed the Phoenix Suns. That was your 3rd pick. So that was the 6th team that was taken on our board, was the Phoenix Suns. They ended up, again, 64 and 18. Neither of us took Memphis, who
Nope.
finished 56 and 26. You had Golden State, which was 3. I had Dallas and Utah, that was 4 and 5. And then we missed out on Denver. So
Denver.
hit or miss. We missed the 2nd seed in both conferences, but one of us nailed the top one. So I think it's victorious. We will cover how we did in hockey in a few weeks when that regular season goes down. I have not updated that in many weeks, but hopefully it was as close as that. And if it is, goodness, I should do it. I should update it now and just see. But thoughts on once again defeating me in a preseason draft?
I, I guess that's the only way I'm going to win against you, because you crushed me in the NCAA women's side bracket. But there was
I
a
beat
lot
you
of
in the
things happened.
NCAA brackets. You beat me in the NAIA brackets.
Yes.
We have found our niches. I'm really good at the sports related drafts. You're really good at the preseason team drafts. We're kind of flipped on the brackets. We got to come up with more games because, I mean, for one, they're fun. And
Mm-hmm.
for two, we definitely go back and forth. Before we get into our NFL draft and we have fun, we have to talk about the Dwayne Haskins news that came through. Was that Saturday or Sunday? It's all blended together for me now.
It was
But
Saturday
over the
afternoon, I believe,
weekend,
or Sunday.
um,
Yeah.
so it was hit by a truck on the freeway. Last I heard, as far as rumors went, is he possibly had ran out of gas and was dealing with that. Just horrible news. The kid, he was like 24 years old and was getting a second chance in the NFL, and everyone in Pittsburgh was a big fan of him and just the kind of the class act. I know a lot of people, you know, during his playing time, and we can all be mean to players, and we can overrate how important their play is on the field to what they are as a person. But I know a lot of people got down on him for not going out and kneeling on the ball that one play because he was celebrating with the fans and stuff. But he was just a young kid. He was doing everything he could to get that second chance. And you and I had both throughout this whole offseason, and I've talked to some Steelers fans who were thinking the same thing. Like he could have been the next Ryan Tannehill, where he got that second chance and really took a good spot in the team. Not a top tier quarterback, but serviceable. But overall, just horrible news that came out this weekend.
Yeah. They talked about him going and working out. That's why he was down in South Florida, is doing some training stuff with other uh, Pittsburgh Steelers guys. So, he was trying to get the relationship and work with some of these guys. So, very sad to see what
Mhm.
is going on with him. And, he could have been the next replacement there for Ben Roethlisberger. He could have been that guy this year. And I think he was on his way to replacing a person that we fought that could have turned the franchise and got them back playing a little bit better. I mean, he was young, 24 years old, a
Mhm.
lot of time left he was a mobile guy. He could have easily changed the way that look of that offense was going. So very sad news coming out of South Florida this past week. So.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, for sure. Other news that came out in the NFL: Dolphins strangely trade Devontae Parker in division to the Patriots. Thoughts on that move?
Yeah, and just I don't know. I mean, I know that the Patriots are needing another receiver, but I'm just kind of shocked that Miami was cutting ties with him. So, I, what is Miami doing now? That's where I'm at. I mean, what are they? What is their
Well,
plans now?
that's a move that they needed to do after they got Tyreek Hill. Like doing the move, I have no issue with it. It was just surprising to me that they stayed in division with it.
I would have figured that this was going to be a great 1-2 setup. You know, they're in Miami, and now it's not going to be it.
I remember who else they have there, and they could definitely draft somebody as well. I mean, it's weird. Everything is weird.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, they have Waddle. Duh, I was blanking on him. But yeah, Hill and Waddle are your 1-2. Parker would have been the 3 possibly. Preston Wilson would be just fine. But yeah, don't help your enemy.
This is 100% right. Don't help who you're going to end up playing twice a year. That's just silly business.
And
Silly
unfortunately,
business.
Eric just messaged me he will not be on the show today, so it's just us. And then hopefully somebody will show up and be live as far as our draft judge goes. If not, I just win. But we will get into that as well. Have we got everything throughout our stuff?
Well, let's see.
Let's hit some Aussie. I just want to just end the rest of the show with this draft because I want to get into it. We'll have some fun. But Aussie rules football this week. Congratulations again, as Geelong gets the big win. They moved to 3-1. They defeated Brisbane 80-70. Did you get to watch it?
I did watch a little bit. Brisbane, was undefeated, and so it was kind of crazy to see Geelong, but both of them very slow out of the gate. So a lot of the scoring finally happened just towards the end of the third quarters, or third period, and so it was a good game. But God, it, it's weird to watch that game. It was at the nighttime, and you could see that they're redoing some stuff in that arena. So
Mhm.
kind of kind of crazy
There was
watching it happen.
goals that had to be retrieved by construction workers. It was pretty funny. Richmond defeated Western 99-61. So Western not off to the best start.
Sorry, Eric.
Speaking of not off to the best start, St. Kilda was not off to the best start against Hawthorn. Hawthorn scored 2 goals in the first 90 seconds, and then I'm still wondering if they've scored since. St. Kilda just steamrolled the Hawks, 142-73. This was more what I was expecting from my Hawks this season. They got my hopes up there for the first 90 seconds there too. Melbourne defeats Port Adelaide 68-36. That's a really big one because Port Adelaide now 0-4 on the year. Melbourne, the only undefeated team left there. But Port Adelaide, again, was supposed to be one of those favorites to be one of the Final Four.
Yeah, and they just have not produced anything. I think uh, they're still one of the lowest scoring teams, period, in the entire
Mm-hmm.
league, if not the bottom team. So kind of crazy to see what they are doing, especially just watching the highlights. As I haven't watched a lot of any of the major games other than watching your Hawthorn, my Geelong team, and trying to
Mm-hmm.
watch a little bit of Western. So
This week 5, we got some really fun ones. Especially, we were talking about teaming up with the Broadhurst Watkins group. Sadly, both of them were busy tonight, so they couldn't do this mock with us. But Thursday at 11:20 p.m. local time, North Melbourne versus Western. Those are their 2 teams that they root for. They're both 1 and 3 on the year. And then Sunday, 10:20 p.m., the special time that gets for these 2 teams every year. Hawthorn, Geelong. I just hope we don't lose by 50. That's my hope. I want it to be interesting. but I have no hopes of winning as Geelong is starting to figure things out. Hawthorn, very young defensively, very young midfield wise. Lots of speed, but not a lot of size. And when you have Bozo the Clown that you guys have on the front field,
Tom,
4 goals for Tom.
you think Hawkins gets 4 goals?
I think Hawkins gets 4 goals on Sunday.
I think Cameron also adds 3 in there. So I can see both of those guys having a big game. So it'll be interesting, but dude, there's no way I'm going to stay up past 10:20 on Easter Sunday evening to watch that game. I might have to watch the replay. As Randy, no,
I think my mic got unplugged and it messed everything up. Let me make sure it's still that. Okay, sorry about that. Switching things over on NASCAR. I'm hoping to watch the Hawthorne game live, but we'll see how tired I am when I get back.
Well, yeah, well, I say you're trying. Let's talk a little of that. You're leaving tonight.
Yep,
and
I'm
then
leaving
you
in
bowl,
a couple hours.
You bowl Tuesday. No, I'm
I
sorry,
bowl Wednesday night,
Wednesday,
Thursday, and Thursday morning, which is we get I think it's the last squad Wednesday night, and it's either the first or second squad Thursday morning. So my body's going to hurt Thursday so much. Also, Wednesday morning, I am meeting with Mike Jasnow. He is a professional bowling coach. He is Brad Miller's coach. They were talking about him having openings on the Brad and Kyle show, and I jumped all over it. So we will see how that goes. I did practice a similar pattern that might be what is going on down there, because obviously with this USBC Nationals tournament, they do not release what the oil pattern was until after. But I bowled on a pattern called the Taj Mahal. Ryan Neeram over at Orchards Lanes hooked me up with it. After first 2 games of just trying to get used to it and missing more 7 pins than I would like to admit going into a big tournament like this, started figuring out if it is like this. And from some of the comments that were posted on Tony Barden's board from people that have already bowled down there have said, I feel like it's pretty similar. It's very outside friendly. Throwing that 5 board and a little bit outside of the 5 board and just keeping it slow and letting the ball hook at the end. I bowled 3 more games once I kind of figured it out. Shot 220, 221, 228. It's going to be completely different down there. It's very much about picking up spares, and I was failing miserably at doing that. But we will see. I'm going down there with low expectations. Tony Barden and I have both set a goal of 180 as an average. If I go above 180, I'm happy. So we will see.
I think my tournament average is like 179 or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if I beat that, I'm good. I'll be totally happy with it, and anything above that is gravy. I know somebody just recently passed Chris Barnes for the all-around total, averaging over 245 between the 9 games. He shot 799 in his doubles series. I'm not going there. So yeah, I'm just going to go down, take it as an experience. I'm mostly looking forward to the coaching that I'll get. I'm a nerd, so I've already tracked down all of the retro game stores and how to get to them. So I'll be checking all that out as well. NASCAR, Martinsville. It was such a great race, I fell asleep. But William Byron becomes the first NASCAR driver to win back-to-back times. I just think it was with the rain that fell and with these new cars, the outside line, it was like old Martinsville, where if you got pushed to the outside, you lost 5 or 6 spaces. So it became really hard to pass. And it kind of took away a lot of the fun of that race. I believe Bristol Dirt is next. I could be wrong, but that race is going to be an absolute blast. Did you get to watch the PBA tournament?
I did watch the opening rounds of the PBA, so finished up watching the last ones there with Chris Prather and Brad Miller there last night. But watch live. Bill O'Neill comes from the 16th
Hmm.
spot and ended up knocking off Jason Belmonte 2-1. They do have a roll off, and and O'Neill was just able to hold Belmonte at odds 7-pin, like you said. It was all about the 7-pin with Belmo. How many times he left it
Oh
just in the
man.
first game?
Hmm.
It was nasty. So, Kyle Troop knocks off Sean Rash. Let me tell you, I am so happy about that. I did not like the way Sean Rash played or even finished up the game when he knew he was losing the first game. Doesn't even attempt to try to throw something. He just throws the ball in the gutter. It just tells you where his mind is
Hmm.
with that. So uh, he is becoming one of those players to slowly go off my liking there. So the
Slowly.
9-man, yeah. So the 9 guy Kyle Troop knocks off number 8 Sean Rash. Uh, in later play, Dom Barrett, who is the number 4 seed, handled Packy Hanrahan and wins that one 2-1. Hanrahan made it interesting there in game 2 as he couldn't get anything going game 1, but I thought it was kind of cool, and I had to tell Denise about this. That she plays this song all the time for our granddaughter, but his strike song happened to be the Pac-Man Fever song. When he struck,
Makes sense.
Packy was getting there, but Don Barrett was just way too much for Packy. He ends up winning that one 2-1, and then Chris Prather takes care of Brad Miller. Listen, that first game, 210, 205. It was back and forth who was going to open, who was going to end up winning that one. And Brad Miller should have went there, just had a couple of bad breaks of 710 in the middle of all that. And then the second game between those two, Prather said, "Here, watch this. Hold my beer. Watch this." And he just dominated the match, and so he moves on quite easily there. So next set of 4 guys, they do compete on Saturday. I believe there's 4 games Saturday,
Hmm.
or 4 matchups Saturday and 4 matchups on Sunday.
All right, and then before we get into the mock, we have not talked about it yet, and I'm kind of surprised. The Masters. Um, which is the bigger story, Scotty Scheffler or Tiger Woods?
You want to hear the feel good story of Tiger, whether or not he was going to come back and
Hmm.
do what he wanted to do. It was on the show. I said it. I didn't know if he was going to make the cut. I think that's what he was trying to do to prove it. Denise and I talked about just watching him walk up the 18th on Sunday. You could tell he hurt.
Hmm.
You could tell that his body was not used to doing the whole 72 holes, and even the practice rounds and all that. So, uh, yeah, it was nice to watch him play, even though watching him implode uh, on Saturday and Sunday, he finishes the tournament 13th under, or 13 over, in 47th place,
Hmm.
almost the bottom of that group. But for me, it's got to be Scotty Scheffler picking up his 4th win in just under 2 months. I mean,
Right.
what he has done in, I think it's 57 days, what he has done in 57 days to win 4 tournaments, 1 major. Uh, Unbelievable what this guy, world's number 1. He's the latest number 1 to win the Masters. One of only 4 guys to ever win the Masters when he was ranked number 1. Other guys there, Ian Woosman, Freddie Couples, Tiger did it twice, and Dustin Johnson did it in 2020. Um, I think for me, though, you could tell the nerves got to him on 18. 18 was not his friend all weekend. He bogeys 18 on Saturday, and I'm like, why are you hitting that ball the way he was? He had a 5-stroke lead on Saturday and ends up in the left hand side of the fairway in the trees. I don't know if you've seen the picture of where his ball placement was at. It was crazy, but he had to take a stroke penalty there. Uh, but then you could see the nerves on him
Hmm.
shooting. His birdie putt was good, but then to double bogey the hole. Just you kind of get a chuckle out of him, but for him to win a green jacket in the same year he's won all 4 of his tournaments, it's just great to see a University of Texas boy come out and just dominate from Friday and play the way he did.
And just the fact that he could double bogey that last hole and still not be in much of a worry as far as anyone or of losing that lead. Give full credit to Rory McIlroy on Sunday, who went on a ridiculous tear. Did not quite get all the way up there. I forget where he finished, but at one point he was like 7 under par for the day. Well, I know he finished second, but I forget
he was 7
score
under.
wise.
7
So he
under.
finished 7 under for the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So he finished 8 under on Sunday because he started +1 on the final round and was absolutely insane.
Listen, there was some great shots, save shots, and a few of them. You know, Scheffler had a nice pitch and rolled it in, but for him and to watch it live as the kids were just leaving, and so Denise and I were finishing watching the tournament, to watch both Rory McIlroy out of the 18th bunker chip in for bird, and then Colin Morikawa on the other side of the bunker chip in on 18, the same hole, same everything. It was great to see some of those shots on both. Those guys were more excited for each other than where they finished up. Morikawa had a little bit rougher spot, but some of the chip shots.
Yeah, both of them coming out of the sand on 18 and then celebrating together. That was a fantastic moment. Very, very great run. Also, in our Masters battle, I win. Dominated. Not surprising. Patrick Cantlay struggled. Tied for 39th. Made the cut. Finished +7. Cameron Smith was in the hunt until the back 9. And then found some water. And imploded a bit. And
triple bogey
went away.
Triple bogey on a par 3. Playing in the water. What was on 10, I think, was it?
It's nerves. I have a feeling nerves were a big part of that for Cameron Smith. Scotty Scheffler held on to his nerves a bit longer and was able to win. But Cameron Smith was on fire. He had a big run too, especially when birdie to start on Sunday and made it really interesting. Funny thing is, I was in a blind draw at the Tribune where we just got 2 random golfers. I got the booby prize for having the 2 worst combined scores out of my 2 golfers. I had a +8 and a +13. It was fantastic. So I didn't really get a root there. All right. Go ahead and do a couple this week of sports history and give me a trivia question, and then we will mock draft the rest of this show.
All right. So a couple of the this week's in history. 19.
Sorry. Another damn double play. Every time I look over to my right to see how the Yankees are doing, I see a base hit, and then I look back and there's nobody there and there's 2 outs.
Sorry, they're trailing 3-0 with 2 outs. Yes. So your game is pretty well over.
Yes. They were rallying and then double played themselves out of it. 2 of the last 3 innings.
Well, the Mariners need to find some rallies here pretty quick as they trail 4-0, top of the 7th.
They suck worse than the Yankees by 1 run.
God, terrible. All right. 1913 and 1962, both President Woodrow Wilson and then John Kennedy in 1962 throw out the first pitch at Washington there. Also in 1921, KDKA in Pittsburgh broadcast the first radio sporting event, a boxing match between Johnny Ray and Johnny Dundee. 1951, the first American, the ABC or the American Bowling Congress has their first Masters tournament, which we're going to try to get you signed up, get you qualified next year.
Do it.
You can do it. So, 1987, Sugar Ray Leonard upsets Marvelous Marvin Hagler. All right.
Bring it on. Give me the trivia question. We didn't get to it last week.
Well, I
2
went
weeks
with
ago or whatever it was.
Yeah. All right. The first I would like to know, we talked about Woodrow Wilson and John Kennedy throwing out the first pitch.
Okay.
Who was the first president to throw out the ceremonial first pitch at a Major League Baseball game?
Am I allowed to look up a list of presidents?
You can look up a list of presidents.
Yeah, that's all I want.
You can look at list of presidents. Sure.
Yeah, because I would suck at history as far as who came where. Grover Cleveland. That's where I'm gonna go.
No, you're off by just a couple years. It
Uh,
happened in 1910. It was William Howard Taft. It was for the
I went too far. I went too
Washington
far back.
Senators. Yeah, Washington Senators taking on the Philadelphia A's. So
Too far back. It's just you got me with the history. That's what you always do.
I try. I
Don't
try my
have the
darndest.
history. All right, let's get into it. We're going to mock draft. We're just going to pick through all the teams, converse, talk about it. I will bring it up right now. Hopefully you can see it if you're watching. If not, we'll talk about it. The cool thing that there's two ones that I like. Just look up mock draft simulator. PFF has a great one. It has a lot of great detail. There's another one that I'm blanking on the name. I was showing Robert where if you do the mock draft of your team, you can do all 7 rounds. This one you can too. But we're just going to do the one. But you can do all 7 rounds of your team if you wish. But as you're going, other teams will send you trade offers. And that's just a lot of fun to me. But the thing that drives me crazy on here, when I talked about it earlier, there are 8 teams that do not have a first round pick. The Bears, the Colts, the Browns, the 49ers, the Broncos, the Raiders, the Dolphins, and the Rams. There's a few of them that really should have a first round pick. Some of them aren't going to be hurt too bad. The crazy thing is the Dolphins and the Rams. The Dolphins' first pick in this draft right now is pick number 102. For the Rams, it's pick 104. That's their first picks. That's going to make this year so insane with teams having multiple first-round picks, other teams not being there at all as the Yankees lose, so I can close that. All right, let's get into it, sir. We will start the draft. The Jacksonville Jaguars are on the clock. According to PFF, their needs are defensive lineman, linebacker, and safety. All things are pointing Aiden Hutchinson. Do you think they surprise us?
I don't think they surprise us. I think they have to go that direction. He is the best offensive lineman, or excuse me, the best defensive lineman to be there. So I think it's a no-brainer that they take him. Do they need to protect Trevor Lawrence? Yes, they need to protect him quite badly, but I think they need to really go after it. And so I would think they do it. I think they pull the trigger on Hutchins.
Yeah, according to PFF, it's over a 50% chance Aiden Hutchinson goes here. Evan Neal, who's the only other person I think is possible, the offensive lineman for Alabama. But it is still crazy to me that I was just dead set Hutchinson was going to go from Michigan to Detroit, and he's not even going to fall that far. So we will put Aiden Hutchinson in with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and then that makes it really difficult for me because I don't know with the Detroit Lions. I could see them trade down, but I don't think anyone's going to trade up to number 2 for a quarterback. There's just not those quarterback names out there, but the Lions do need quarterback, linebacker, defensive back, according to PFF. Where do you think they go?
And I just they need so much help, and it's hard to see. They could use a receiver. Give Goff some help. They need a rusher. They need to go a lot of places. I think they go defense. I really do. I'm gonna say it. I hate to say it. I don't want him to go there, but I think Thibodeau goes there. I really do. I think Thibodeau makes that that spot. You know, he's probably the next best defensive player there. They do lose Trey Flowers, so I think it could be. I think it could be the right fit for him.
I have seen a lot of love, and I have to scroll down for Trayvon Walker. I guess he's had an amazing combine. I don't care about the combine, but in all the mocks that I've been seeing, he's been jumping up the boards. But I'm with you. I do think it's an edge rusher as well. And again, PFF agrees. He is the most likely person to go there. So we will go with the Oregon Duck. We will give him to the Detroit Lions. And now the Houston Texans pick number 3. I love this. PFF says the needs for the Houston Texans, every position. So the cupboard is full, sir. Where does Houston go?
I, boy, I think I think they also go defense. I think we're going to see the first 3 defensive positions go off. I think it's probably going to be, I think it's going to be the safety. I think it's Kyle Hamilton. I think they
Really?
need to. I think they need to show up their defensive backfield as much help as they need. They need a running back. I think they need a receiver. I don't
They
think
need
Kyle. I
everything.
don't think Kyle Allen is going to be the answer of a quarterback there. So, but I think they're going to lean defense. So I think Kyle Hamilton might be the guy.
I think it's too high for Kyle Hamilton. I'm still not 100% sure where they could go. I could see an offensive lineman here. What are your thoughts between a Kyle Hamilton or an Evan Neal with Houston? We'll look at what PFF says, and right, they have Thibodeau as the top, Kyle Hamilton, as you said, as the second pick, Evan Neal as the third pick. What do you think between offensive linemen or a safety for a team that needs everything?
I, I think the safety is the smarter pick. I mean, not knowing where they're going to do for a quarterback. I mean, I think I'd want to set up with Houston needing just about everywhere and needing to rebuild that entire team. Let's get a decent defensive back in there.
Okay, we will go with Kyle Hamilton. I will go with you. It'll be interesting, and that will bring up my New York Jets. And I'm going to get your take out of it first before I go on my thing. And then the Jets have 2 picks in the top 10, according to PFF: wide receiver, linebacker, cornerback. If you are the Jets, what do you do?
If I was the Jets, I want to give them a little bit of help on the offensive line as much as anything's possible. I think you got to go one of the 2 tackles. I think Evan Neal, for me, I think Evan Neal is more of the NFL ready to play. So if it was me, I would easily draft him.
Jets the
Protect.
last 2 years have went first pick with an offensive lineman, obviously Becton and Vera Tucker. We'll see with the health of Becton. He was pretty banged up last year. You still have George Fant on the right tackle side. They got Tomlinson from San Francisco. I think the offensive line is better. Obviously, you can always get more help. And with if Evan Neal drops to 4 and how big he is, I can definitely see that as well. But I have been swayed by one Rich Eisen. I'm with him. Give me the sauce.
Hasn't given up
Ahmed
one.
Gardner, cornerback, Cincinnati, 0 touchdowns given up in his entire college career. And the fact that Tyreek Hill just went to Miami, the fact that you have Stephon Diggs that you have to face twice every single year, the fact that now, who do we just say, Parker or whoever, the old Miami throwaway, is now in New England. Still have the 10th pick to address wide receiver, which is a huge need. I think 4 is too high. Give me Ahmed Gardner. I am all in on this. I think for a Jets team that Darrelle Revis was one of the most popular players in the last 20 years, if not longer, with what he did with the Jets and having his own island, I do not think Gardner falls to 10.
I don't
And
think so
I
either.
want Gardner. I think there's a lot of mocks that had Gardner dropping to 10, but there's a Seattle team that is pick number 9 that I think would 100% take Sauce if he was still there. So I as the Jet here, We're going to take Ahmed Gardner, which makes it really interesting because now there's several tackles that are still out there, and I would be shocked if it gets to the 5th pick and all 3 are there. Neal, uh, Iganu, I can never say that guy's name, and Charles Cross, and that. But you get some needy teams here. We'll start with the Giants, who have the 5th and the 7th pick. Good chance they trade out of this 5th pick because there's a good chance Carolina would be looking for that top quarterback. This would be where a team would have to trade up if they want the top quarterback of choice. But if we'll just say there's no trades, what do the Giants do with this 5th pick?
So I believe they have what, the 5th pick, the 7th pick, and I want to say like the 4th pick in the 2nd round. So
Yep, they are 3, 13, and 37. So yes.
yeah. So I really think they've got to go offensive lineman. If you're going to let Neal slide down one more, I think they have to take this pick. They can't trade out of it. If they want to stand behind Daniel Jones, I know they've talked to the owner. He is behind Daniel Jones as much as he has not proven himself. Give him some protection. Everybody's always needing offensive linemen.
Yes.
I don't think Evan Neal slips past 5. So
No.
I would say Evan Neal.
If our mock goes the way it is, they're not going to be an instantaneous the pick is in. They'll wait to see if there's these great phone calls, but I think they will have Evan Neal wrote down on a card just in case they don't get a trade offer.
So
and just have them set.
Before we go too much farther, then
Yes,
I say we need to make sure that we're writing these down just to see how close we are when we get on our special.
Oh, we're not going to do our. We will do this again. I think I would like to get the other guys on at some point.
Okay.
But I'll send you. I'll take a picture of it when we're done.
Okay.
And we'll keep it for prosperity's sake. But yeah, so how terrible we are at it. That's for sure. But yeah, Evan Neal goes 5th. I'm with you as well. Carolina Panthers. Sam Darnold hasn't really been working out. A lot of people think this is where the first quarterback goes. I'm not one of those people. I think that they are going to go offensive lineman, and you can pick which one. I'll say Aquanu, just so I can stop trying to pronounce that name. And here's my reasoning. Next year's quarterback draft is supposed to be so much better than what it is now. So why not give Sam Darnold that one last chance, hopefully with a healthy Christian McCaffrey. If it works out, beautiful. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. You can move on from Christian McCaffrey and trade him for picks and help your case getting that top quarterback next year. That's my case.
The only thing that I see behind the thought difference is they did talk a lot about they have to give something for Christian McCaffrey to take some pressure off of him. I mean, they're making him do everything there in Carolina. So them not to go tight end or go running back or not running back, but go with a receiver. Yes, I know they did pick up Rashard Higgins. They also pick up another name, Brandon. It starts with a Z. I'm drawing a blank of his name. Anyway, they did pick up a couple. Yeah, they picked up a couple of receivers.
Oh, yeah. Brandon Zylstra. I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I'm not. So I would probably lean receiver, but it's a good point of getting him some protection, get him some bigger holes. So
now wide receiver is very deep, and they do have another pick later on in the second round. They have the 43rd pick and the 58th pick. You can definitely go out, get quarterback or a wide receiver there. I do agree, wide receiver is a need. DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson are just not it as far as your 1-2. So are we going Aquanu?
I would go Aquanu though.
Okay, so we'll go with Aquanu here. get the tackle. Now the Giants are back on the board. Again, we're going to say they don't trade. Their needs, offensive line, edge, linebacker, we've already given them Evan Neal. They could go 2 tackles and go cross and go completely bonkers. Your best edge is George Klofutis from Purdue. They could go that route. Where do you think them going? Devin Lloyd's still out here. Trayvon Walker, who again I feel has jumped up mock draft boards, is still on the board.
For me, I think the smart thing to do, and I don't know if there's any kind of correlations with him, but I think I'm going to go edge. But I don't think I'm going to go with who you think I'm going to go with. I'm going to drop down to Walker. I really think Mr. Walker there from Trayvon Walker from Georgia. I think he's probably the better fit than the guy from Purdue, which I can never pronounce his name.
Right.
Even looking up at his stats the other day, I was trying to pronounce his name and I just couldn't do it.
Thank God we're gonna have Eric on the show for our first round mock. He is very good with pronunciation, so he will be our go-to.
Yeah, and so he put up some. Walker put up some really good stats over the last couple of years. He played in all 15 games. He had 5 sacks, 9 hits. I think he is just a bulldog. I mean, he like the Bulldogs. I mean, I think he is a hard-nosed player, and I think that is what the Giants need. So I would lean that direction.
Yeah, I think so too. Just looking at some of his stuff on here, he is definitely jumping up the board, and I can definitely see it. So Trayvon Walker, I agree with you. We'll go to the Giants. Now comes the Atlanta Falcons, another team with quarterback needs. Obviously traded Matt Ryan away. I don't think Marcus Mariota is the answer or the long-term answer, but are they going to go with what I was saying with Carolina and getting pieces for now and then hoping to get one of those top tier quarterbacks later? Or do we see a quarterback go here? I'm going to say quarterback.
Yeah, I think that might be probably the best scenario for them. I don't see them going for a wide receiver or a running back right away. I think they really go to the idea of the quarterback. So the best one out there.
What do you think?
Who would you throw out?
Sam Howell or Malik Willis? That is the question. I'm hearing a lot of love for Malik Willis. That's where I would go.
Nope. You know exactly where I would be going. Sorry, give me Desmond Ridder, Cincinnati. He has played really, really well. I've been on Cincinnati for the last 2 years, man, and he is now going to make that big splash. I think he is a great fit there. If they can draft a receiver with him somewhere, I think they have the 40th pick in round 2. So I think is Ridder, but
Well, I'm going to
but
go
I do
Willis.
agree.
I don't see Ridder going in the first round. Right. He could be a fantastic starting quarterback. I just don't see him going in the first round. So we'll go Willis. All right.
Okay.
Seattle.
Where to start?
Punter. Let's look at punters. What do let's see, the best punter, are they even on here? Special teams. Ryan Stonehouse from Colorado State. Congratulations, you got picked 9th overall in our mock draft. No, what do you really think for Seattle?
I think they go and try to replace Bobby Wagner. Whether they go for a corner or they go linebacker,
There's some good
think
corners left.
You've got Derek Stingley from LSU.
Mm-hmm.
Stingley is really good. You've got McDuffie coming out, a Husky. I think the top, we haven't even hit Devin Lloyd. As a Ute, I mean, he played quite well for the Pac-12. He was one of the best defensive players. I would lean Me, I would lean linebacker before I lean cornerback.
Now I'm going cornerback, and I'll let you decide McDuffie or Stingley.
I would go Stingley over McDuffie. So Stingley.
All right, New York Jets back on the clock. We have already given them the sauce.
The sauce.
I hope so. Number 10, New York Jets. Select a wide receiver, please. And
Uh,
the way we're going, it would be the top wide receiver picked, which is probably not going to happen that way. But where do you go?
I think I go Garrett Wilson. I think he is probably the better of the two that are at the top of the board. Ohio State guy. I think he's probably the best fit for up there.
I am between Garrett Wilson and Drake London. I will be happy with either of those with the 10 pick. You give me Sauce and one of these top 3 wide receivers. I'm very, very happy with how the first
Mhm.
round went. What do you think of the rumors that the Jets offered the 10th pick to Seattle, which was Seattle's original pick, for DK Metcalf, and Seattle turned it down? What do you think about that?
Who knows what Seattle's doing anymore? I mean, they're in such a place of what they need to do and what they should be doing. I think there's still a lot of upset people about losing Russell Wilson. So I just don't know what to think about what that front
Mhm.
office is doing anymore.
The Washington Commanders are up next to the 11th pick in the draft. PFF has them needing quarterback, guard, center, and linebacker. Is this where Devin Lloyd goes?
I I I think so. If Seattle doesn't take him, I think they have to take him. It's just the smartest pick there for what they need.
Yeah, I am with you. I think this would be a perfect fit for Devin Lloyd. That's where we will go. We'll move quickly to the 12th pick. The Minnesota Vikings are now on the clock. Need offensive line. They need an edge rusher. Need a cornerback. Lots of good options for them the way we have it set up right now. Cross is still on the board. McDuffie's still on the board. Your Purdue boy is still there as well. Lots of options here. Where would you go?
I think I go with the guy from Purdue, edge rusher. It'll be a great fit there with Zadarius Smith. I mean, it would look really good on both sides to have a veteran on one side and uh, Karlafidis or whatever, however, Sir George. We'll call him Sir
Sir George.
George.
I'm fine with Sir George.
I think that is the spot where Minnesota goes.
Okay, so I will go with that. Houston Texans back on. We've already given them Kyle Hamilton. Again, they need everything. Charles Cross has dropped down the board. Trent McDuffie has fallen down the board. Do they go with one of those two players?
You know, I think they need a lineman. I think the best person sitting there is Cross.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where they will have to go if we keep things going like it is. When we still think there's probably going to be some movement, but I think Cross is probably the best guy sitting there.
Is this only because you don't want McDuffie off the board before your Ravens pick next?
How did you know?
I just had a
They
feeling, but yes,
yeah.
I will go Charles Cross again. We're just throwing out a fun mock right now. It's not our official picks just yet. Um, I don't see Charles Cross dropping to 13, but there's always a player or two that really do. This year especially is so up in the air. But Charles Cross will go to Houston. That will bring up your Baltimore Ravens. PFF says their needs are defensive line and cornerback. Obviously, Trent McDuffie has fallen into your lap. Is
And
that where we're going?
that's where you do it. I mean, especially after losing Trayvon Young, we lost Anthony Everett this year. Yes, we still get Marcus Williams, but I think you have to go McDuffie there. We need a corner. Where Baltimore really suffered this year was what was going on in the defensive backfield. It'll be interesting to see with the new defensive coordinator. So how that defense looks over the next few after the draft. It'll be interesting.
All right, that brings up the Philadelphia Eagles with the 15th pick. They have 2 picks here in the first round. It was 3, but they traded one out with the Saints. A linebacker, defensive back is what PFF says they need. Do you think they go with that need or one of these 73 wide receivers we still have on the board?
I think they go. He needs a target. I mean, if Drake London drops that far, I mean that would be, I think, the smartest move if he is there and available.
Mm-hmm.
But they need some help on the defensive side of the ball too. So uh, I would maybe go Devontae Wyatt. If it's not the receiver Drake London, they go inside defensive interior guy. They get Wyatt there.
It's so tough. Looking at the analysis here, they say 28% chance of a linebacker, 22% of a wide receiver. Devin Lloyd was their top pick. We've already had him go. Sir George was second. Nakobe Dean is third. Drake London is fourth. It's close. It's all really close. I'm going to say Drake London. Again, Hurts needs somebody to throw it to. He has no weapons. So let's go there. Saints, they have a couple of picks also in the first round. They get the 16th pick here. Quarterback, wide receiver, tackle. I don't think they go quarterback just yet. But I just don't see people moving up to get these quarterbacks. So I don't think they're worried about the Chargers or the Eagles drafting a quarterback. So I think they wait. So then do you go Raymond? Raymond is a talented lineman from Central Michigan. Jamison Williams, injury concerns, but super fast speed from Alabama. Chris Olave from Ohio State. Where do you think you were going here?
I think they go weapon. I think we see back-to-back receivers here, and yeah, you're going to go with Jameson Williams. This a speed guy, Alabama, close to home. I think that would be just a smart pick for that ball club.
Chargers up next, and I was kind of hoping you didn't go that route, and I agree with you. It's a good pick, but Jamison Williams on the Chargers would be so much fun.
Yeah, it would.
So much fun. But I'm going to throw it out there. Wide receiver, tackle, cornerback is the needs for the Chargers. I will let you pick between these two.
Okay.
Chris Olave or Bernard Raymond. Get the wide receiver or get the lineman. Which way do you want to go?
I'm trying to think who they have offensive line there protecting one of the top 10 quarterbacks right now in Herbert.
It's a pretty new line. It looks like nobody has been there for several years. Looks like.
Let's give him a target. Let's give him. We'll go 3 receivers in a row. Let's go Olave.
Trying to look at where they ranked last year. They were 10th last year as far as offensive line went. So yeah, Olave, I'm cool with it. I think it works out really well. 18th pick, Eagles back at it. Dean?
Yeah, I think 100%. I think they go defense. They really need to do something there to be. I don't think they're quite there to the spot of being that major playoff team that can make things happen. I think giving them a target is probably the smartest thing to do.
Saints' second pick. I think the smart pick would be taking Raymond, who is dropping down our draft board. I think they go quarterback, though.
So you've got what? Sam Howell. Who else?
Sam Howell from North Carolina, Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati, Matt Corral from Mississippi, Kenny Pickett from Pittsburgh. All thrown in there in that kind of first round and a half-ish.
I I think we could go. Looking at those guys here, I'm trying to just think. Sam Howell, the next quarterback would be Matt Corral from Mississippi. My, I think that might be smart. I don't know. I can't see Desmond Ritter making his way into New Orleans. I just don't see that happening. I think I would probably go Matt Corral. If we go
Okay.
quarterback, that might be the one to go there.
All right, 20th pick, Pittsburgh Steelers. Same thing. Should go Raymond, but especially with everything going on now, maybe they go Raymond. Maybe they don't go quarterback with everything that's happening. I don't know. Where do you think?
If it's not Raymond, I think this is where Ritter goes. I think he stays up
Oh, you
north.
got to go the Pittsburgh boy.
Yeah, because he
Kenny
is
Pickett.
from.
Kenny Pickett.
You think
Oh, Mr.
Pickett stays there?
Smallhands. If they go quarterback, you got to go Pickett.
You
And
think
it
so?
just makes the best fit. I don't think they should, but I think that's where they would go.
Pittsburgh boys staying in Pittsburgh, playing in front of.
Yeah, Desmond Ritter can go to Baltimore because they need a quarterback.
No. Come on now.
So lineman or Pickett?
I say they probably go Pickett.
Okay, Pickett gone. That brings up the New England Patriots wide receiver, edge, linebacker, cornerback. You know what? We've goofed. Because in so many mocks, I have heard Jermaine Johnson skyrocketing up these boards. Like going 8th, 9th in a lot of these boards. And we have skipped out on him. So if we don't put him here at New England, where they would, he would be a huge fit for them.
I think that'd be a great fit for him.
Brings up the Green Bay Packers.
I think maybe
Let me just go to wide receivers. Let's just hold on.
I was to say you better go to wide receiver and look.
Traylon Burks, Sky Moore, Jahan Dotson. We've kind of gotten through some of the big names, and I'm sure Packers fans will be disappointed by that. But they do have the 22nd, 28th pick. I would not be surprised if they used those two to move up in the draft. But out of what we have, Traylon Burks, I guess.
I think Burks, or even I think George Pickens. I mean, I know he's farther down the board. Pickens had some really good season this year with Georgia. I
Pickens
think
did tear his ACL last year. Came back just at the end of
the year. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Traylon Burks, what do you got?
Yeah, 5 catches, 163 yards against Texas A&M. Also had a couple scores for Auburn. His I love that they have his high school numbers on here. 151 receptions for 3,400 yards and 43 touchdowns in high school.
Now I'm trying to remember. Pickens is what, 6'3", 195.
Burks is 6'2", 225.
I think you got to go one of the two. I think probably Burks. I think Burks probably is.
Let's go Burks. They have Traylon Burks. Yep, right there. We'll go that route. Got to be wide receiver, right? It has to be a wide receiver.
Right.
You would think.
Yeah.
Who knows? Arizona. They need a guard tackle. I know it's a tackle. Raymond has to go off the board, right?
Yeah, he's going. He's got to go and
you can move him.
Yep.
Dallas Cowboys. Offensive line, defensive line, linebacker. You got a lot of good linemen here. Wyatt and Davis on the inside line. Linderbaum could be a center. You can move him out of center if you really need to. Ojabo, a good edge rusher. Still some solid picks here for Dallas. Where do you go?
I think you got to go defensive lineman. They only give Uh, you've got some need at linebacker, I think, eventually here in the next pick or so. But I think you can easily go either one of the boys from Georgia. I think Devontae Wyatt or Jordan Davis.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably lead more Davis with that, but I think either one of them's a solid pick.
Yeah, we'll just go Wyatt just because. Buffalo Bills wide receiver. I don't see them needing a wide receiver or defensive lineman. We give them Davis then, since we took Wyatt
I
just before.
I would think so.
Okay, that seems fair enough. Tennessee Titans. I say Linderbaum right here.
Go an offensive
Give
lineman,
him offensive
center.
lineman. Go block for Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick there.
Keep moving on quickly. Tampa Bay Buccaneers line, both sides.
Don't they need a quarterback?
No, that dude will never go away. Ever. Actually, what do you think of the rumors there too? That the Tampa or Tom Brady retired because he thought he was going to get part ownership of Miami, and then was going to unretire to play quarterback for himself. What do you think of that rumor?
That's the first I've heard from that one. So
Tampa,
that
he could have legit been an owner of the Miami Dolphins, and then I wanted to know what our buddy Richie would do. Like, would Miami Dolphins fans revolt because Tom Brady now was owning their team, or would they just buy into it? It would be interesting.
would be crazy.
But where do they go?
I think they go lineman. I think they either take Trevor Penning.
Yeah, we got Trevor Penning on here. We got Zion Johnson. I would say one of those two. We could go Penning. I think that's safest.
I think that is probably the smartest spot.
Zion Johnson, though, is the guard that they need. Yeah, we'll go Penning. Back to the Green Bay Packers. Should we go back to wide receiver?
Well, you know, what was it? 5 picks earlier, 6 picks earlier. We did Traylon
Burks. Did we take the other wide receiver that we almost took?
Well, I mean, he's there.
Or they also need linemen. Do we give him Zion Johnson?
I think you probably go offensive lineman. I really do.
Actually,
knowing if we do take.
Hold on 1 second. Haley, come here.
we have
to ask the expert.
Ask the expert because we already drafted her a receiver.
So we've already drafted you a receiver. We're doing a mock draft for the first round, right? We've already drafted you a receiver with the 22nd pick, Traylon Burks from Arkansas. Congratulations. Okay, you have the 28th pick. Do you go a second wide receiver or do you go offensive lineman?
Is this for who?
The Packers. The Packers' second first-round pick that they have.
We need an offensive line.
Offensive line?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go offensive line. We went to the expert, and you will get Zion Johnson. So congratulations, Boston College guy.
Zion's a bank. It's not a person.
Well, you can take that pick to the bank.
Take it to the bank. There it is.
Right. Thank you.
You heard it here first.
All right, I've lost where we're at. Oh, another person I tried to get on was Robert Taylor. If it was on our normal Tuesdays, he would have been able to be on. He has prior obligations on Monday as well. Back-to-back picks for the Kansas City Chiefs. Kicker punter?
That'd make Robert Taylor very upset. I don't see that happening. For me, I think you spend one of the picks with a defensive back. You've got a couple of really great defensive backs, but you almost have to go a receiver here. So I think you've got one of the two picks has to be a receiver. The other one has to be a defensive back.
I like Sky Moore for them. Obviously, looking at this thing right here, very shifty. Trying to replace Tyreek Hill, find that speed. Has some really big numbers. I'd say Sky Moore.
Okay, I would agree with that. So if that's the case, in that pick, you go there first. I think you go next uh, with Khair Elam. I
Yep.
think the guy from
Mhm.
Florida is a lot better there. I think that's a good pick for Andy Reid.
Yeah, I'm right there too. Obviously, with the other teams improving as much as they did, bolstering that defense even more is very crucial. So we will go there. We got 2 picks left here in our mock. The Cincinnati Bengals, defending AFC champions. Offensive line is their need, but do they go anywhere else? Because we have kind of ciphered through the line here.
So you look at who they've gotten picked up in free agency and all that. They pick up Kappa. They also pick up Karras. They also pick up Lael Collins from the Giants. So they did pick up 3 linemen.
Hmm.
Do you lean another lineman, or do you go with the best person that's still left up there? For me, do you go an edge guy, or do you go a defensive back? I think I go a defensive back there. As much as they do need line, they have made some moves there. I would probably take Andrew Booth.
I'm for it. We're at this point in the mock. Who knows? It was like there's gonna be so many trades that we don't see, and other people that are available that we don't see. So Andrew Booth, totally fine. By the way, I messaged Robert Taylor a couple minutes ago. He finally got back to me. He would have taken Elam and is it Mafe or
Oh,
Bofe?
Boye Mafe
Trying
from
to think.
Minnesota.
Yeah,
Yeah,
those are the
edge
two
rusher.
he would have taken. So I'm happy we got him one of the two that he would have taken while he was on the show. So yeah, he would have went Mafe and he would have went Elam. We gave him a wide receiver in there. I'll see if I can get his take on that here in the next couple minutes when he gets back to me. So we had the AFC champions, the Super Bowl runner-ups. They get the 31st pick. So of course the Super Bowl champions, the Detroit Lions. Oh no, it was the Los the Rams who traded everything. So Detroit Lions get the last pick. Where do you think they go?
They need so many different things, so many different people, but I think they go Ojabo. I think they stay a Michigan guy, give him another edge rusher there.
That's fair.
Let Goff have another good year there. So I think that is probably the smart thing for him.
Oh, they would have sent us a draft grade if I paid $199. I'm not doing that. And I don't want them. I don't want them. I don't want to know what other people thought of this draft. But we had fun with it. So there you go.
Yep.
There is our official first round mock draft, 17 days or so away from the first round of the NFL draft. Again, we will be here live that Thursday with both Harry Broadhurst and Eric Watkins doing our live reactions and thoughts and analysis of that first round. So if you want to see 4 buffoons talk football and have fun mocking each other, I think we're going to get some good sport report battles going on throughout the draft. We have 4 hours to fill, so maybe we'll get some games in there as well. We had nobody show up, so I think we'll just hold off on the sports related draft for now.
Yep, we're good with that.
Totally fine with that. I will give up my pick. You can pick the next draft because mine was kind of centered around the NBA draft or NBA playoffs and how terrible they are. So we will hold off on that for now. But yeah, that's it. That's our laid back show, our fun mock that we did. We are probably going to be completely wrong with, but to be fair, if we got Juice and Garrett Wilson, I'm going to do a cartwheel off camera.
You mean Sauce?
What did I say? Juice? Yeah,
Yeah.
Sauce. Thank you.
I think
Sauce
that would
Gardner.
be you make a great point there. I mean, listening to the idea of what they need to do, based on what other teams are doing in your division. I think
Mhm.
that's a smart move.
And the Jets do have 2 early picks in the second round as well. Could they use some and move back up in the first round if some of these linemen like we had go a bit for earlier and they aren't able to get one of those offensive linemen in the early second round, they could do that. Obviously, needing an edge rusher as well. There's a lot of very good, talented people out there. I've liked what the Jets have done, so it'll be very interesting. But that's going to do it for this show. I got to go finish packing. I've done half of it, some of it. I'm semi prepared for hitting the road here in a couple hours. Going to eat some food and
Yeah,
hang
you got
out
a
with
long
the
drive.
family for the 14-hour drive. I will try to post and keep everyone updated on how things are going. Over under, sir. I need something
Just
from you.
just do a video. You go to the page, drop a little video
Well, I
before you
don't know if they
bowl.
allow electronics and stuff, and it's always watching Brad and Kyle. It's always different on what you can and cannot have
Mhm.
down there, and I'm not having anyone go with me, so I can't hand them off the phone. Maybe I'll have Tasha do it if she's gonna watch Tony or whatever. But we'll figure something out. I need an over under from you, man.
Okay.
Give me the goal. Give me where because I'm just saying 180s. That's my like if I get that, I'm happy. But I need challenged by my buddy Robert Hagan. 9 games. Either give me the total if you want to do the math, or just give me the average you want me to hit through my 9 games.
192. 192.
192. All right, we will see if
I
we can
think you're
do that.
more than capable of handling that.
It's all about staying mentally focused and not being taken aback by the 900,000 lanes that are there. It'll be nice getting there tomorrow, and I'm staying at those lanes. So
Have you ever been at South Point?
no, yeah, I've bowled nationals one time ever, and it was in Reno, and it was like 11, 12 years ago
And
at
Reno
that
is
bowling
next
center.
year.
Yep.
Reno looks totally different than South Point. At
Mhm.
South Point, you have lanes on both sides. So there's a middle aisle between you, I want to say it's like 1 through 24 on one side and 25 through 48 on the other side. So
That feels less intimidating than
it
Reno's
is, it is
100
a
lanes
lot,
in a row.
it is a lot
But
less intimidating.
like I said, being able to stay there, my goal is to get there early afternoon, be able to check in, and then like get myself settled for a little bit, and then go down and watch some bowling and just kind of get a feel of what people are doing before the whole deal. And of course, meeting with Mike Jaskow is going to be. That's what I'm excited about. Just to get some pointers on my game and some tips on what I can work on and how I can work on it will be very, very, very important as far as my game going forward. So yeah, I'll try to keep people updated as we go. If not, just messaging Robert and he could post, or I will try to post my best. I know Tony's doing a great job with all his dart stuff he's doing on down there, keeping us updated. They finished second in a doubles event down there, which is super cool to hear. We'll see. We'll have lots of fun. But thank you guys so much for hopefully watching this later on. Our live crowds have kind of dispersed, but we have not helped ourselves by jumping our show all over the damn place. But thus is our schedules. But we will be back next week, regular time, 6 to 8 p.m. with a guest.
Yes, we're getting ready for Conquest in the Cage out at the Clearwater Casino next week, next Tuesday. The one, the only Austin Arnett will be joining us live on the show, live from the station. So make sure you check that out. Looking forward to having Austin Arnett in and talking about when Randy gets to go and spar with him.
No, it's you're gonna win the vote. But we talked about it off air. I do worry that the 25 follows on Facebook that we need may get met next week. It always happens when we get a popular guy on like him. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We've said multiple times, UFC is not in my forte. I respect it all to hell, but it'll be very interesting to sit down and talk to somebody that is so ingrained into that sport. It'll be very, very fun there. So again, Tuesday, 6 to 8 p.m. Be so excited. I'll be able to talk all about my trip and let you guys know how everything went. But for now, that's Robert. I'm Randy. Go support high school sports, and we are